Hello.
Hey, buddy.
Hey,
Hi.
Daryll. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Am I clear?
You are clear. I can
Yes.
hear your voice. You are, yeah. You can hear my side, right?
Wait, let me just put on my AirPods also.
Hey, no worries, no worries. We're just recording now, but we can cut out any scenes later, lah. Yeah, I mean we're recording now, but we can cut out any scenes we
Yeah, I'll
want
leave the
later.
editing to you, lah. Huh? You're the pro.
No worries, no worries. We're all good, lah. Generally, we don't tend to cut out too much of our editing, but what we do is we like to take certain
Ah,
segments of the video, and especially if they are good sound bites or
yeah,
they are good advice, then definitely we'll share with our community.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, hey, thanks for taking the time. I still remember the very first day I came to your office. I don't know if you recall or you recall me or when I came
Yeah,
by. It's
yeah,
quite a number of years actually.
yeah,
Yeah, I remembered back then with Open Minds. It was, I think, 5 6 years ago when I
yeah,
came over,
yeah,
and I think I was pitching this idea of some sort of like boot camp or
yeah.
rocks. Like I think I called it Rockstar Devs.
Something
Then
like that, right?
apparently,
Yeah,
yeah. But hey, it's been a while since COVID. I mean, would love to maybe if you can share about yourself
yeah,
and maybe just share with the audience, what have you been up to?
yeah,
I mean, Open Minds, I don't know if everyone heard about it, but definitely you guys are one of the startups out there that's in the scene. So,
yeah.
and you guys are growing very well. So we'd love to hear more about it.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, for you and me, we've been some years back, and to see where you are today as well. Congratulations. I see your growth, I see progress, and I think that is something to
Slowly lah.
commend you on. Um, and what have we been up to?
Or maybe you can
Pandemic
share
has
Open
really
Minds
been.
as well. Yeah, share what it's about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pre-pandemic times was
Mm.
a lot of us thought that 2020 was going to be the year. 2020 was going to be the year they were going to make it even bigger. But
Mm.
little did we know, obviously, after 2 years now, close
Mm.
to end of 2021 already.
Mm.
The company has been through many ups and downs. Open Minds for 2020 and 2021, we're pretty blessed. I mean, with God's
Yeah.
blessing, we've been doing quite all right.
Mm.
We've been doing quite all right. In fact, this year has been quite a good year for us, despite the dip back in 2020 and 2019.
Yeah.
And we have recently acquired also a local company's license to
Oh.
basically become a premium partner of this CRM tool called ShopSpring.
Oh.
Um, ShopSpring is very well known in the US. They are on NASDAQ, and they're on par with your major CRM, SaaS, cloud-based CRM, and marketing automation tools. So we are now considered the premium partner here for Southeast Asia, and we are moving forward that in 2022 for the digital team. So we are very much into CRM, very much into automation, marketing automation, very much into still digital marketing and strategizing. And of course, tech development still goes on for us. We do a lot of enterprise level tech solutions. And maybe you have heard as well, Open Academy. We've been running Open Academy for two
Oh.
years. So
Ooh.
Open Academy is basically a education platform, both B2B and B2C.
Mm.
And it's amazing because we have an app as well for B2C, and
Mm.
it's like your Netflix for education,
Yeah.
right? So we have many videos in there. We call it, mobile learning, or we call it learning on the go, right?
Yeah.
So it basically bite size, able for you to learn on different topics that we have in there. So that's going ongoing for us. Open Academy, Open Minds Group. We're trying to move Hong Kong a bit more. We recently also incorporated Singapore, but it's a bit difficult to move Singapore right now because we're physically not there.
Yeah.
So it's a bit difficult. But let's see lah. Let's see what 2022
Interesting.
holds.
If you don't mind, you can share about yourself and who you are and
Mm,
how you came to
sure.
even start Open Minds and maybe just a bit about the
Sure.
history of Open Minds. Yeah.
Sure. I'm nobody, man. I'm little
Come
chitu
on.
in even back in high school, I'm not even, there, and I don't do too well. I mean, to be honest, I don't do extremely well in my studies. I can talk about this in a whole new session. But if you want to, bring this way back, even during my university days or my college days, I didn't even finish my university. I don't have a degree. At the age of 20, I decided, actually, age of 19, I decided to step out of university. At that time, sorry, college, just finished college. I went for a 6 month gap year, and I decided to come back and take my bachelor's, and
Yeah.
after the first first year, second semester, I decided, I told my parents and my sister, I said, hey, I don't think I'm learning through the four walls of classroom. I think I need to head out. I need to start my own business. So at the age of 21, I officially started my first business called Chase Motions.
Oh.
And we're basically in the talent agency industry, but very specialized talent. So my dream for that was to use specialized talents, like people with special talents, whether it's extreme sports, taekwondo, martial arts, dancing, free running, and use them for commercials. But long story short, that didn't fly after 6 months, and I decided to pivot. That was my very first pivot. At that time, as a young entrepreneur, I didn't even know what the meaning of pivot was. I just basically decided to say, like, I'm changing direction. And at that time, I changed it to a more video driven agency, being the liaison between the client and the production house, right? And that's when it actually first sparked a need for partners, for business partners, because at that time, I even up to now, the one thing that I learned in entrepreneurship is that there's no lone wolf. You need to venture and need to journey with someone or some people or a couple of partners that you believe and trust.
Yeah.
And since then, that was 2011, I decided to partner up. And long story short, 2012, we merged two companies together. So my current partners used to own one company, I own one company, and then we merged and then we used back the name Open Minds.
Which
And
was
in
whose name?
2012, sorry?
Open Minds was whose name?
Open Minds was an existing company. Chase Motions were an existing company. All right. So we kind of have these different partnerships. So when we merged, right, we decided to hold the name Open Minds. Okay. And that's how we officially incorporated into this digital and tech industry. Yeah.
2012. My goodness.
2012. 2012.
No, that's the thing. What I've seen, like you get a lot of startups, but I wouldn't even call you guys a startup any. I mean, you guys are not a startup. You guys are actually a very established company, and 2012. That's a long time.
Yeah.
That's a long time. My goodness.
It's true. We tend to not use the startup word anymore. We say we have a startup mindset, but we are no more considered a startup. Right. I don't think anybody, any government body or any startup or organization will even look at us as a startup because we are in our 10th year right now.
My goodness.
Consider SME if you say, but startup mindset is very important for us. Always have a startup mindset, startup resource.
Yeah, no, and I think it's a very important distinction because when people hear startups, they will think, oh, they are very volatile. They may fail next month. They haven't stood the test of time. And I think Open Minds clearly is not a startup because you guys have been around for that long. Actually, if you can share with people, like what's the vision of Open Minds? When I first saw Open Minds, it reminded me of, digital media agency, digital marketing agency. And I have seen a few like Integrity, VLT, the few that I knew of. And I mean, I happen to have friends there and I just saw their growth curve and they expanded to everything, right? I think maybe they closed off one of their branches, I'm not sure, or their divisions. What's Open Minds like? What's your core, what's the vision for the future?
When we first started off in 2012, our first stumble was stumbling into social media and tech website development per se. We were as easy and simple as that. But if you look 10 years back, social media management was just starting out. Everybody was getting into social media, even pages and Facebook groups were then the thing, right? And we went in the right time. I mean, with God's blessing, we really entered into a time where we caught the wave in 2012 to about 2015, around there. We did a good 3 to 4 years worth of social media management
Yeah.
and tech development. Throughout the years and throughout this journey and this 10 years journey, we have also pivoted multiple directions. And our
Okay.
first pivot was then to be more data driven. Sometime in 2016, we decided to be more data driven, more analytical, and therefore we had even a product based on this. It's called Roundup.
Yeah.
It was an integrated analytics system. Now, from then, right, our vision from day one has always been to develop, right, a ecosystem that is self-sustainable,
Yes.
right, and that makes a global impact. Okay, and this whole vision moving forward is that it also allows a platform for people to do what they love and thrive in. Now, if you look
Mhm.
at our multiple different services, right, that we offer, it's very complementing to what we do, whether it's digital marketing, education, all the way to performance marketing and marketing automation to
Yeah.
CRM. It's
Yep.
all a mesh of complementing ventures. And of
Mm.
course, along the way, we had multiple other ventures that failed. Some stuck, some failed, most failed, and the ones that has stuck around until now.
Yeah.
And if you look at the overall makeup of Open Minds, obviously we are here to make a global impact, right? So
Yes.
a global impact in that sense, we tend to try as much to have not only offices of presence, but we also have clients overseas. And obviously, we are serving some clients in this part of Asia and
Yeah.
also in North America, in Europe, we have clients as well. And that's a good blessing to be in and really expands our vision in that sense. Mm.
Wow. No, that's clearly very big thinking picture.
Mm.
But what's the vision for the next 5 years then?
Vision for next 5 years, I think we have always been planners. I think my partners and I have
Yeah.
always been planning, and obviously is to champion culture. We are big on culture. When we talk about culture, it's actually a mashup of things. It's values that translates to character, personality, and then after that behavior. And
Yes.
behavior truly works in the sense that uh, you and I or fellow teammates would know how to respond in the correct manner, right? So that builds that culture. And of course, there's operational culture with our perks, with our 3 in-office days, 2 out-of-office days. We've been doing
Yeah.
flexi working since 2012. So
Oh
the
wow.
pandemic didn't really put much of a dent in our operations. You know, everything was
Okay.
cloud-based. Everyone was able to work no matter what. You can work in
Yeah.
a cafe, you can go up to Genting and work
Damn.
also. As long as you have a Wi-Fi, you can
Wow.
work. So we have set up in this way, and the pandemic has basically just on steroids a bit like
Yeah.
you're at home, 5 days a week compared to
Yes.
2 days a week, but pretty accustomed to that. So culture also is a sense of processes, right? We have multiple processes to meet the needs of people so
Yeah.
that they don't worry about the basic needs and they can do their work and they can perform. So
Yeah.
we are big on culture. Definitely 3 5 years down the road, we still want to champion culture.
Yeah.
We want to champion the whole area of Martech, marketing technology.
Okay.
So technology becomes the driver, becomes the bullet, becomes the vehicle, whatever you like, right? And marketing basically is the industry we're still in. We believe that a lot of things runs on good marketing, and therefore that's why you see we also champion or rather try to bring in tools that would then help the marketing side, but
Mm.
ultimately still powered by technology.
No, it's very interesting you said that. So, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but open minds, then if I can sum it up in a few words, you guys ultimately focus on marketing,
Yeah, Martech, marketing
marketing tech, right?
technology. Yes.
And that's a conscious decision to not, and it's tempting to just jump into, well, similar areas, but maybe not marketing. You guys have been primarily focused on marketing.
Yeah, I think throughout the years, we everything that we do as an essence of marketing in it.
Mm.
Because end of the day, if we build e-commerce site, for example, right,
Yeah.
it's still to do with marketing. It has still to do with sales, a big
Yeah.
portion of it. If we talk about performance marketing, it's still to do with lead generation and marketing.
Yeah.
If you talk about CRM, it's the same thing. You talk about social media, digital marketing, it's marketing, right?
Yeah. No, it's clearly very interesting you said that, because even with the company I'm running, and it's a new company, it's 2 years old, and we've had to really understand what is our core that we are doing. If not, you just get too sidetracked all over the place, and you'll have there's people cannot remember you for something. So, and I think that's something that a lot of young companies and new companies struggle with, and it's such a waste to see that they work so hard, but they just don't get the knowledge from people who've been in industry longer, and they've been needing so much advice and guidance, but there's just no one out there to outreach to these people, especially people with more experience, right?
Right.
So, being that you've been in the entrepreneurship scene for clearly quite a while, what's the biggest challenge for entrepreneurs in Malaysia?
In Malaysia,
Yeah, entrepreneurs, and maybe after that
yeah,
yourself at Open Minds as well, at the stage that you guys are
yeah.
at. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid question because, well, a lot of entrepreneurs still struggle at this point, and I think where entrepreneurs struggle at this point versus 10 years ago is just that there's too much content and there's just too much advice going around. And I think it really boils down to this. The challenge of entrepreneurship right now is that a lot of young people or people who want to go into it, especially the younger ones, are still a bit starry-eyed, and they think that a lot of news are coming from overseas, right? You got
Yes.
billionaires made out of they control crypto, there's new energy, there's these industries, they never really, I think what face the challenges that face young entrepreneurs right now is that they don't know, or they haven't researched enough what went in, or all the hard work that went
Yeah.
in the earlier days of these successful people. And I think that has caused entrepreneurs then to be impatient. I think one of the challenges that face entrepreneurs right now is being impatient, and they want something to get done in the next 1 year or 2 years, reach a million, a valuation of 10 million, 100 million,
Oh
whatever,
my.
and get their rounds, right?
Yeah.
So it's difficult lah, because you do see these stories, but I mean, the grit and the different launch pads that got these entrepreneurs to where they are, it can be very, very, very different. And of
Yeah.
course, there's this famous word going around right now, whether you're unicorn or I don't know, what's the next one, a decacorn or something like that,
Oh,
right?
after unicorn. Wow, I didn't know
Yeah, there's
that.
another one.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I can't remember, but there's something even bigger than the unicorn. Or do they call it zebra or something like that,
Yeah,
whereby
yeah, if I'm not
it's
mistaken, yes.
yeah, it's basically talking about startups that are sustainable rather than just always going big on valuation. And PE firms and VCs and angels are out there obviously to provide you with the money and resources. But
Yes.
sometimes people just get caught in the game. I think the challenge here is that there is not enough money going around. But if you take the money, you're in for a game. You're into a different type of squid game,
Yeah.
you're into the game of series A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and I mean you're getting hounded from all sides to just make money, and sometimes you might just be derailed from your main vision and purpose of why you even start up.
Yeah.
So I think knowing where you want to head to and how much you want is again another bigger challenge for entrepreneurs this time versus last time, because last time I think it's just not enough knowledge
Okay.
versus now is too much knowledge.
Okay.
Where what is right, what is wrong, I think needs a lot more discernment from entrepreneurs.
Okay, so that's clearly a problem now. Whether it's a solution for it, we can of course chat later. But what is a challenge for Open Minds then, given that you guys are an established company already and clearly in the tech scene? What's the challenges that you guys face after 10 years, you know?
I'm telling you, Ming, every year, right, we got challenged. Although you as established, yes, we are not a startup. We've been around close to 10 years. We're celebrating our 10th year next year. But
Damn.
it's truly every year, right? I believe in this thing called seasons of life. And
Okay.
there is seasons in business as well. And every year, right, we have this thing we always say we have a glass ceiling to break. We do see the
Okay.
future. We're very ambitious of it. We can see it. We can almost reach for it. But there's always a ceiling to break at every single year. And it's actually really, to be honest, even after 9 or 10 years, it's not easy. Every year will come with its own worries and own concerns and own challenges. Of course, there will become a time in these seasons where you enjoy the highs, but every season has lows as well, and the lows can be, of course, of finances, of leadership,
Yeah.
or even transitioning, or maybe a new structure of management, and everyone poses a new challenge. And I don't think we can run away from this even after 10 years or 20 years or 30 years. I think we will always face different challenges. And what we are facing right now, I think, is the whole area of finding the two things. And this, the number one thing is people. Still, people always come
Mm.
and go, and it's so difficult to find people. Of course, we cherish the people we have, and we always say this: no matter what business you're in the people business. That
Yeah.
means to say,
Yes.
whatever, even if you run a full-on robotic business, right? Someone has to build the machine, someone has to code. So
Yes.
technically, you're still in a people business, because you need to manage the people. You need to give them a career trajectory. You need to help them grow. You need to help them progress, to
Yes.
maintain themselves. And you ultimately still in people business. And every year poses its
Yes.
own challenge on people, because we have seniors leaving, we have leaders
Yes.
leaving. It's not easy to find replacements, but do we also want to find replacement? That is a question. Or do we pivot and
Mm.
start something else? So
Mm.
we are going through this season. We're trying to find also in the next 3 to 5 years, what kind of products we're going to build in house as well. How do we be faster but yet not clumsy? That
Mm.
faces us, and of course, the whole area of resources, where to park resources, right? Of course, if you ask me 5, 6, 7 years down the road, means resources was maybe a bit too little, but right now we do have some resources. But the question is, where do you park it? Where do you place it? With not enough data or even history, with experience, where do you park these resources? How much
Yeah.
effort should you then pour into it? So different seasons, different challenges. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Actually, everything you just said was clearly very valid, even for us. And we didn't know any of this, even as new companies. It just came about naturally as we go along. Of course, we knew it
Mm.
earlier or heard from someone who has gone through it. A lot of startups like us would have saved a lot of headache.
Yeah.
Um, that's the thing, right? Actually, after hearing from you saying this, okay, I have one question I wanted to know, which is
Mm.
how do people juggle, okay, is it product first, is it business first? Which do you think is more important for a company, especially coming from a tech angle, a company that offers a tech as a product, as a service as well? Do you focus on tech first, or do you focus on the business first, which
Mm.
is priority and
Mm.
which is more important?
I mean, if you allow me, I would say you definitely to focus on the people and partner first.
People and part
Without the
first, okay.
people, without the partners, especially partners. So I give you an example. I recently started another company, and we are
Mm.
focused on CPG, consumer packaged goods. And I want to build this company to be more tech driven as well. So in more into
Okay.
food technology and so on. I spent 1.5 years looking for appropriate partners. I've actually changed partners 2 times, and this is my third set of partners. I
Yeah.
spend so much time doing that is because I know I cannot run businesses on my own.
Yes.
And I need people who I can trust, and I need people
I
to
see.
go through this journey with me. So even before business and before product, you can even just have an idea of a product and service, and then you pitch it to them if your partners believe, and then let's work together to build the product and build the business. I think if you talk about tech, of course, it's I would straight up say, once you got your partner, once you got these few teammates in place, is obviously just build the product first, right? Test the product 3 months, 6 months, and then build
Mhm.
the business. And I think from there you need to go side by side already. Neither one can come, has more priority than the other. Why? Is because the product itself needs to serve its purpose, right? It needs to solve a problem,
Mm.
mainly solve a problem, all right? Solve a problem or enhance something,
Mm.
meet a need. And then the business is obviously to sustain the people, right? Business in terms of resources, finances, manpower, culture, operations. And you need the business then to run that vision, right? And the branding, of course, also. So it goes hand in hand after, I think, 6 months of testing your product. But I would say still and again is to find the right partners to journey with you first. And I think that two naturally
Yeah.
would kind of fall in place.
You see, we face this dilemma. Okay, fine. finding people first is very, and yes, you need people for anything. So if I could pose you a question, which will you prefer? A very good business team, but a very bad tech team, or a very good tech team and a very bad business team? If you had to choose one, which will you choose?
It depends though. What business am I in? What am I selling? Or
No, I mean it's let's just say the business has a strong tech element. You're not doing a non-tech business, put it that way, right? I guess my question is just assuming that general test case, or even for let's say open minds, a very bad business team but a very good tech team, or the other way around. Which will you think can survive longer?
It's good. I've never been asked this before. Of course, ideally, okay, there's no ideals in life, but I think, right, is to ultimately for me is to have a very good business team, people who can run the business. Why I say this is because also it's very difficult to outsource a business. I can't outsource a CEO. I can't outsource a management or operation team. I can't outsource my shareholders in that sense. All right. So, but end of the day, if I got a very good business model, I got good business plan and strategy. All I need is people to execute it. And guess what? You can outsource the tech. Right. End
Yes.
of the day, I can outsource a tech.
Interesting.
I can even hire a CPO. I can get a project team going on. I can get 5 full stack developers and just use one of my business team that is great at project management, for example,
Yes.
manage them. It can be outsourced to Vietnam, Thailand, Taiwan,
Yes.
India for whatever reasons, or even in-house, of course, right?
Yeah.
So I yeah,
Ah,
top of my mind, I would think
you can't
that I can
outsource the
outsource.
business side, but
You
you
can't
can. Yeah,
outsource business.
outsource tech. Yes, makes sense. You can't outsource the business. Why?
Yeah. Yeah, you can't trust someone to run your business, right? You can't tell someone to say maybe you can outsource accounting, but no one is going to have the same vision as the partners, right? So I rather have
Yeah.
great partners. If your execution sucks, never mind. If you're good network, if you have good planning, good strategy,
Yes.
good people management,
Yes.
good vision, and you stick to
Yes.
it, all you need to do is outsource. In fact, you can even outsource hiring, get outsource so many things, right? The execution part you can outsource. But if you talk about internal vision running and purpose, if we talk about really running the business and
Yes.
growing and scaling the business part of it, then I'd rather have that in-house, of course.
No, makes sense actually.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, you are like certain companies, you're very heavy into product research, like you're building a flying car or something, then forget the business side just because you're inventing a new product to
Yeah,
some
I
level.
guess that at that point of time, if you got something so heavy, so heavy and chunky, right?
Yes.
I obviously think that you can act like almost like an investor, so or you need other people to come in to share that load, into
Yes.
R&D. R&D is so expensive,
Yes. It's a
Yeah, it
different
depends what.
ballgame.
Yeah.
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 So you were saying that people is a big problem, and I agree with that. Honestly, I agree with that. Even us as a small company, we face cases where tech talents get poached,
Mm,
or I would say not poached, but maybe we cannot keep them, especially if they are get better
mm,
and better at the company. They cannot offer them more. Um, and I think it's a common thing where ultimately people leave not because they don't like the company, but because there's a better offer. That's almost always the case. Uh, so why do you think this is the case in Malaysia, or
mm,
what's the situation happening in Malaysia?
mm,
Uh, given that we're both based in Malaysia,
mm,
and what's the solution for
mm.
even the SMEs? Because you're talking about the corporate guys, talking even other countries. How do you foresee the talent
Mm.
market in Malaysia? Yeah, and the problems.
Yeah, I have two separate conversations with different people on this as well. Number one, obviously, we're facing a brain drain here in Malaysia,
Oh,
especially on the tech side. And you and I know this, right? You're very
yeah.
much into the tech scene as well. So there is a brain drain, there is talents being coached, and obviously there are talents intentionally going overseas when the
Mm.
borders open. Ciao. All right. Bye
I
bye.
see.
Right. And we've been trying to hire for tech roles for a long time as well.
Yeah.
And we've been facing the same problem not only for tech role but sales role, sales and marketing role,
Okay.
UI UX. Obviously, UI UX is high in demand right now. It's difficult to find people, and yeah, obviously in Malaysia, I don't think it's just a Malaysia thing. I think it's just around the world. Obviously, people, whether there's this question going around: do you work for purpose or do you work for money? I think it really depends on different season of your life as well. So if you catch someone that's working in a season of life that is working for a purpose and a cause, then maybe at least you have the person for the next 2, 3, or 4 years, right? And then the person start to realize, oh, my lifestyle, I need to keep up my lifestyle. And great if the company that he or she is working in is able to give that lifestyle or the upgrade. But if not, then I think it's very common for the person to go after a better quote unquote package somewhere
Yeah.
else. And we have experienced that multiple times as well. But most people leave us. In fact, I'll be honest with you and be transparent, is that we, in fact, maybe 60% of our tech team in 2021 has left, and we find it very difficult to close that gap, right? Because it's just difficult finding tech people, and if you find those who are good, obviously their asking is extremely high, or you find those that are not so good, their asking is high, but it doesn't match. It doesn't match. The really good ones are extremely high. The not
Yes.
good ones, the income is also high. So
Yes.
it's very difficult to justify something like that from what we have seen in terms of quality work, because we do deal with clients that are enterprise level,
Yeah.
and we cannot afford for rookie mistakes in that
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
And obviously getting a lead or a CTO to come in to handle and manage is again not easy. Even if we have the finances too, it's
Yeah.
not easy to find that level of a talent. So
Mm.
again, I think Malaysia, number one, is just going through again and again a talent drain, and we're draining all our talents to our nearby neighbors, perhaps, right? Yeah,
One
yeah,
neighbor nearby, just right
yeah,
now.
yeah, exactly. It's true, because you see all the big tech firms and the unicorn ones are all coming out from there. Or in fact, I'm not
Yeah.
surprised people are going to Indonesia. It doesn't have to just be
Indonesia,
down south.
really?
Yeah, yeah, because there's so much VC, there's so much money being pumped into that. There's so much going on in Indonesia right now in the tech scene and startup scene. So it's pretty obvious.
Yeah. One thing I did hear talking about that is Malaysia is hard to find, especially senior talent is very hard to find. Junior talent is, of course, easier, right? But the thing is, junior talent cannot progress and go, and you have no one to manage the junior talent if you don't have senior talent around.
Yeah,
So you have your seniors and your mid-level guys. Those guys could be much harder to find.
yeah.
Uh, and me seeing friends that go overseas to Singapore, a lot of them tend to be they learn here, but after they reach a certain level, at 28, 29, they can easily jump Singapore and earn 8K Sing or something like that. And the fact that it's just in Sing dollar, that alone already is and clearly they can pay more anyways, even without converting. So that's the challenge. I mean, what's the solution? I mean, even for yourself, because you guys must think about the future and yeah, how to
Yeah.
handle, right?
Yeah. I wish that you never continue with that question of a solution, because up to now we don't really know what, to be honest, we don't really know what
But
the
what's the
solution
problem
is.
actually? Why do tech people leave? According to your case, were they poached by other local companies
I
that
wouldn't say
just
poach. Some
purely
of
for
them
money?
actively look out. Some of them actively look out
Okay.
because again, there are a lot of types of tech that you can be involved in, and I
Yeah.
think for a tech developer, your journey as a tech developer starts, okay, maybe once you get out to work at 23, 24, and maybe
Yes.
after that you stop coding at around maybe 35 or 40 years old. You actually
Yes.
find difficulties in those who are 40 and above that are actually still coders. Those people are
Mm.
usually consultants, PMs, doing sales in tech, or
Yeah.
they just want to be CTOs and not code too much, right?
Mm.
So even the lifespan of you actively coding as maybe 15 years or so,
Mm.
and they want to try out everything and anything that they can get their hands on, because there's again so much different tech out there, right? You can do client work, you can go into the brand side, you can do crypto and blockchain, you can do NFTs, you can build for the fintech industry, you can go into
Yes.
e-commerce, you can start building for super apps, So again, games, for example, games is big now. Games, online digital games. So it's just so different, right? And now you got, of course, metaverse, right? And I'm sure a lot of people will jump on that, and coders. And so there's just so much opportunity out there.
Yes.
And I think for them to stick in the same company, sometimes intentionally they want to just to get their hands on something new instead of just building, I don't know, e-commerce systems, loyalty systems, and trading systems, right? Because that's what we're good at. But not every tech developer can stay up to 10 years with us doing
Yes.
that. Although we do have a culture of innovation, and we allow them to also have their own passion projects, and to in
Yes.
fact shift roles if needed and find new
Yes.
projects if needed. But how far can that sustain? It's also still in the question. But we do see some successes from there. We have a sprint team, in fact, and the sprint team is to look at innovation as well.
Wow.
The sprint team is to look at bringing an idea all the way to reality in a short matter of time. So we do have all these opportunities, and I think it's great, and it does help in terms of sustaining and maintaining talent.
Yeah.
But I won't say it's the main thing that brings in talents, right? I don't think it's the main thing that brings it. I think the solution right here, right now, is that if you are really want good talents, you got really no choice but bite the bullet and pay. You need to pay and have a very good,
I see.
way of offering them maybe flexibility or even exposure to technology. Because I do note, and this is also a very, you need to balance this in the industry. Those people who are sick and tired of working for big corporates,
Yes.
and your big brand names, right? I won't name them, but then there are those who are coming out from there and they want to go into a startup because it's more active, more challenging. It's very different. You get to touch a lot. You don't just do mundane work.
Yeah.
But some just prefers to be stable and do those mundane works at big tech companies. And again, of course, I was just talking the other day to someone. We're talking about China coming into Malaysia as with their tech as well, and they're 3 times more aggressive than anybody in the world. Their tech teams, their onboarding teams, their implementation teams sleep in client office. They work this
996.
996, right?
Yes.
So it's, although yes, the government is trying to clamp down on that, but they still practice this off China. Like, the people here are so aggressive. What needs a 6 months rollout gets done in 2 to 3 months. How can you fight? It's so advanced, right? Sorry, I'm not even talking about the solution here, but I guess the solution is really to pay, find overseas talents, or someone needs to work together with the Malaysia. It's a longer term solution, but work Malaysian government to offer even more incentive, to assist talents in general, not just tech, but talents, to stay. Why do they even want to stay, right? Clients are still paying low, but tech salaries has gone up 2 or 3 times. How can we sustain? How can a company remain profitable if again you can't challenge different this competitive landscape as well? So yeah, obviously we got other solutions like opting to really outsource the tech into India and Vietnam. But again, that boils down to a different challenge. You need a good bunch of people to manage them.
Yes.
Obviously, find good managers and good project managers also not easy. So
And that's expensive to outsource. Actually, it could be expensive to outsource because they
it
are a
is
company
expensive,
and it would charge profit as well. It's not
and
cheap.
you don't get to see them face to face, and they might not really have the heart to work. They are basically just churning out work.
Yes. Yes.
Right? They are a factory of developers.
Yes.
So it doesn't mean they give you actually good quality work.
Yeah. I actually have if I can delve one more into this topic, because I've used to work a lot in part-time contract companies as well, and I work in a few startups, and in fact a few subcon companies that actually big firms outsource to. So they subcon to the subcon, then the subcons out again, just because they can't find the talent, so they just subcon out, and then these people just hire. And yeah, they are desperate. They are quite desperate, and they're hopelessly behind in tech. But well, as a big firm, they got a lot of monopoly advantage, so they don't have the incentive to innovate, but then they'll outsource it to smaller firms who have to innovate because they don't have the connections or the brand name or whatever. The question I want to ask about this talent problem is this: is there no supply of talent, brain drain style, or is there just a crowding out of because people are overpaying talents? Because I've seen companies who say we couldn't find people for many months, but they're receiving resumes.
Yeah.
They will receive. So actually, what's the real heart of the problem? Is there talents but they're not good, or is there just not enough cheap talents because some company is spoiling the market by paying too high? What's the real problem here?
Actually, you really hit the nail on its head. It's two actually. The biggest one is being pampered. The industry is paying too much and overvaluating the talents, and is a bloat just because demand is just more than supply. At one point of time, there was also a particular brand in the industry that overpaid a lot of their BD and sales people, right?
Yes.
Till when that particular brand closed down or moved on, or a lot of their people coming out asking 2 times more than what the industry
Wow.
actually pays them. And I pity them, because sure, at that 2 or 3 years you earn a lot, but when things go south, when you come out, it's very difficult to match that salary. And
Yes.
looking at your talent and this all you do is so
I agree. I agree on
difficult.
that. I agree on that.
Yeah, so you really hit it on the head. Is that it's actually a combination of two things. Although I did say pay more, but pay more for the talents that you're really comfortable with, lah, right? But I
Yes.
do know big companies and a lot of these tech giants, they get money and they just want workers, so they hire maybe 2, 3 very good tech, and then they have all the rest just doing the execution work. And these people don't get the chance, and when they come out, sure, they have the experience, and some actually don't really have the experience. They have the theory, but they don't pass our test. Some even score
Yeah.
0. Some talk very good, they score 100%, but when you give them an assessment, they score 0.
My
So
goodness.
that makes you think, right? That makes you think, are we being too harsh, or really there is no good quality talents? And I think because a lot of the seniors are seniors with no time to teach or coach, and I think that has being snowballed down
Yeah.
to the next generation, where they don't have a good mentor or coach or senior to even look up to for the past 10 years. Because tech for the past 10 years has been growing so much,
Yes.
all the really good ones are just probably head to toes filled with tasks to do,
Yes.
and they may not be able to teach. And the young ones, obviously coming out for universities or colleges, don't have the practical knowledge of how to build something of quality, or
Yes.
what the best practices are. And some of them, even worse, they're learning old methods, or even languages that are not so fond of, right?
Yeah.
In this new times. And then you have to unlearn and train and retrain again,
Yep.
and it's difficult. And I think because they have been so called quote unquote neglected throughout the years, it goes to show that talents nowadays unfortunately don't have that amount of critical thinking or knowledge to even execute that level of a job. And therefore, sure, you may get CVs, but truly, if you look into it, maybe the best they can, some can't even do WordPress, by the way, mate. So yeah, so it's difficult. It's difficult to say yes, I want to hire you, but who then is going to train you? Who is going to look into
Yes.
your codes? I admit most of our leaders as well actually got no time to train and coach, because it's just too much work to do. And those who can, uh difficult to find, although we've been blessed to have some really good ones who are
Yeah.
willing to train and help, but they have their own tasks to do as well. So I think it's a trickling effect, throughout the generations, and how fast tech has moved. So all the senior ones have
Yeah.
moved up and moved out, some of them. And then you have this batch that is coming up. Sure, everybody wants to do tech, but can you really do it? I don't know. It's a question
Yeah.
mark.
Yeah. How how we do it at the Hacker Collective, uh, we believe a lot in peer-to-peer learning. So
Mm.
in fact, it's juniors leading juniors, and we
Mm.
feel that that helps a bit of the issues with freeing up the seniors' time.
Mm.
And I get you, a lot of times you see someone who is very bad, who just doesn't look it, who thinks that, wow, he doesn't pass. But I think out of necessity, we've had to adopt a different hiring method totally, just to,
Mm.
especially for tech, just because we can't get people who just look good immediately. We get a lot of people who are, well, not there, but are they like a raw talent that we can train? So it requires a bit more
Mm.
probing.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen cases where people change over time and it just becomes so good, but it takes a bit of time if they have
Yeah.
that raw talent in them. Lah.
Yes, yes. And you need to be passionate, you know. You cannot just be, I mean, you can't just be a doctor for the sake of being a doctor, right?
Yes,
Doctor, you need
yes.
to be more than that. You really have the heart to help people. And that's where it comes into play. If you really just took up coding and just because, okay, lah, stable, lah, you don't really
Yeah.
like it, just do it for the sake of doing it, then it poses a question that are you really passionate about it? Do you have the natural talent to actually grow in time and the speed that it's
Yes.
growing?
I think passion is the key word. You are absolutely right. In fact, someone can fail on all tests, but correct me if I'm wrong, but passion's a big thing for you guys?
Yeah, passion is a big thing for us. We try not to over fancy it as well. We try not to overuse
Okay.
it
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well. Just because passion has been thrown right, left, center. But passion truly is the birthplace, but it's also the place where you go back to find yourself, and ask yourself, do I still have the passion? And sometimes passion
Yeah.
is actually not a good feeling. I don't believe that passion is that when you go back and visit and you ask yourself, do I still have these nice butterfly feelings that I really like to start business? Sometimes it's not. I feel drained starting businesses, right? But the passion comes from your true purpose. Like, what
Yeah.
is your purpose? Why do you even do Hackers Collective? Why do you even
Mm.
do what you do on a daily basis?
Mm.
Is really that purpose, and it's not just passion. Passion is to be there to be your fuel,
Mm.
right, in those times. But you need that purpose to help passion and purpose, the two P's, to connect with one another, and then something magical happens, day
Yeah.
in and day out, as you go through your life. Yeah.
As a founder of Open Minds and someone taking a leadership position, what will you say is what's the core role? And this is something we struggle with as well. What's the core role of a founder supposed to be in a business? Because I always tell my business partner, hey, we can always hire someone to do this. We can always hire someone to do this. Then what's the role of a founder if you can always hire people to do something who probably could do it better because they're spending more time on it, they're focusing on it? I mean, what do you do every day and what should be a
Yeah.
role that founders play?
I mean, in general, my role has changed throughout the years. My partners and myself, I have
Yeah.
changed throughout the years. I actually started off being very in the service side of
Mm.
things, right?
Yeah.
Doing social media management, writing copy, coming up with a calendar template to that level. Okay, that's where I started.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think throughout the years, I realize it's a very good question actually. What do founders actually really do? In my opinion, is that in whatever we do, we need to have a leadership perspective, and leadership is the key, because leadership makes tough decisions all the time. Now,
Mm.
how do you solve and try your best to make the right decision most of the
Mm.
time, right? Now, I'm not saying that we make decisions that are right all the time.
Mm.
Most of the time is that we need to constantly think. I'm a big believer of thinking, and of
Yeah.
course, not just thinking, but observing. Not just observing, but doing the work as well. So you think about it, you observe how people do, for example, and then I believe in just getting things done or just testing things out. And I think in the role of a leadership role, we need to be clear. We need to be very, very clear of our principles and values
Mm.
in our culture, in the people that we want to be on board and don't want
Mm.
to be on board. And we
Mm.
need to make tough decisions like pay deferment,
Mm.
what you call this, business continuity.
Mm.
You need to make tough decisions on leadership. Who do we keep? or who do we need to promote, or who do we need to train even more,
Yeah.
or what kind of services can we jump into, or products can we jump into after this long pandemic, for example. And leadership is really about people realizing you as an example as well, right? And I think it's all about character, right? It's really about that character that leads you to be a good leader. So I think whatever founders, co-founders do, ultimately we still need to lead the people, lead the company, lead the business, lead the vision. And we do that by, bringing in, is as simple as bringing in new sales,
Yes.
right? Because you are very focused on resources and finances. Bringing in new partnerships because you believe in integration, right? You believe through partnership is the one way that you can unite and grow and scale, right? Because that is your leadership goal, right? You're supposed to scale the business,
Yes.
or you can go into specialize. So you specialize in something. So one of my business partner also specialized in a certain area, and he really loves it, and he needs to do that work. So he specializes there. And in his own leadership, he knows when to also pass on the things that he's not very good at to his other partners. And I think that's the role also as co-founders, that
Yeah.
you realize each other's strength and you play and leverage on that. So day in, day out, I'm in meetings, whether it's less on prospect right now, maybe a bit more on client, but more internal people as well, leadership team. I'm part of the corporate service team, so it's anything to do with hiring, finance, accounting, HR, culture, mental health, blah blah blah. So all these areas we need to innovate on, and I'm in meetings like that to make decisions and also ask certain questions to make sure everyone's clear. And I think really after 10 years, the role is more of a leadership, really honing my skill as a leader so that people will be able to follow, and not only follow, but follow in clarity. Mm.
Okay, that makes sense. I think because technically you cannot give that to an employee to do, or I mean you cannot a founder's vision and setting those hard decisions. Yeah, I think ultimately it has to be done at the founder level.
Mm.
If I understand open minds well enough, or just from looking at your site as well, and from what hearing from you, can I assume that open minds is 50-50 in terms of project servicing and product development, internal product development,
Mm.
or what's your range like?
Mm.
How
I
do you guys
think
work?
for us, we do split down very clearly on our
Okay.
two structures. So we have one that's called the servicing, right? The servicing deals with anything to do with digital marketing, marketing technology, tech development, uh, ad ad buying, performance marketing,
Yes.
automation. And then we have one that's called the venture building team.
Mm.
But ultimately, that deals then with innovation, sprint team, and the multiple companies that we have vested interest in.
Yes.
For example, Open Academy. All right, or Drive Funnels. Drive Funnels basically is our sister company that deals with performance marketing and automation as well. So we look at these two hand in hand to grow and to complement the vision that I shared with you earlier on, about an hour ago. So if you look at this two structure, you can say it won't be 50-50, but we do have two
Yeah.
focusing on
Yeah.
these two areas,
Yeah.
because when things go well, the retainer part all comes from the servicing, the innovation part, and the one that for the next 2, 3, 5 years comes from
Yes.
this venture building part.
Yes. I think that's so critical. And correct me if I'm wrong, but companies need both because one clearly brings in the revenue, another one's more for long-term growth.
Mm,
And is
yes.
that the reason why you would split?
Yeah. Yes, and of course, because doing this whole ecosystem of ventures that complement one another,
Yes.
the easiest thing to start off, that's why we went to the service line, right? Back then at 21 years old, 2020, 21, 22 years old, you have all the time to sell. So
Yeah.
basically, we were selling time, and therefore, service was one of the easiest thing to get into, right? And along the lines, then we need to be very clear, how do we sustain ourselves? And that is to getting into either more services or product, or cloud-based or subscription, whatever that has a more automated type of revenue generation, more lean in that sense.
Yeah.
So it gives us also a good balance, lah. You know, you have a good balance of products. Therefore, you can also use your main service strategic team to complement one another. And that's exactly what we're doing with our SharpSpring CRM premium partnership here in C as well.
Okay.
Mm,
I have last 2 questions for you, and then of
sure.
course, I'll be happy to for you to share any thoughts you have with our audience. When you say, because I'm trying to understand about marketing tech as Open Minds key business, what's the thing that really drives you for Martech? I mean, people hear it, it's a word, okay, but how does it influence their lives, or how does it help society, or how does it help companies if you want to
Mm,
get someone excited about this vision for Martech, right? Because and when I think about it, right, it's just okay, marketing tech, you're selling more adverts to get more eyeballs, okay. But what's the vision that gets you excited? You
mm.
know,
We all
yeah,
have to acknowledge first and foremost that tech is now, and tech was the past, and but tech is still the future, right? It has
yeah,
been in every season of our life. Tech
yeah,
has always been present, and
yeah.
because it's present in everything that we do, even in fact in all our needs, all the way to driving, right? Automatically, or even paying for your parking ticket,
Mm,
or buying things online, or food,
mm,
grocery, all the way to your furnitures are being tacked up right now, right?
yeah.
So the thing here is that it helps society move forward because the tech element is the one that really progresses um, societies and economy.
Yes.
The whole area of marketing, what you said is right, eyeballs, but I think for us, marketing is truly not only just eyeballs, not only just awareness, but it's the whole journey. And how do you actually get the job done? How do you promote things that allow users to get the job they need to be done?
Okay.
Okay, so marketing is all about that storytelling, it's all about that content, it's all
Mm,
about showing if you have a need, right?
yes.
This then is the solution. And how do we get that message out is through technology,
Mm,
right? It's through the tech of display, it's through the tech of automation, it's through the tech
mm,
of adverts, it's through
mm,
the tech of integration, offline online marketing, right? It's through the tech, or even the whatever sits on a agent's tablet, for example, is
yeah.
that tag that speaks to you as a customer. You can personalize something for the customer, right? The content itself will then speak to you and help you realize that, hey, I want to do this, for example, and this solution, I'm able to get this done. So how does that serve? Martech serves that whole funnel, that whole chain. And I think it's interesting because to a certain extent, we all have tech, anything tech in our hand, right?
Yeah.
Even right now,
Yeah.
we are using tech, right? But
Yes.
the thing is that marketing, you're able to also influence the behavior of certain things, whereby in the past, right? Milkshakes, right,
Yeah.
were probably just some sweet drink that is overly sweetened and heavy. But if you change the need to a on the go breakfast,
Mm,
right, that totally changed the perspective. It's still a milkshake, but
yeah.
if you market it in a way where you tell a story about it being a breakfast on the go,
Yes.
right, then something shifts, right? There is a
Mm,
need, there is the marketing aspect of messaging, and they use at that time, the olden days, tech like
yes.
TV advertisements, right,
Yes.
or maybe drive-through advertisements, right?
Yes.
And that is ultimately Martech, and why it's interesting, and it does shape a lot of our perspective now and even moving forward.
Oh yeah, it does, definitely.
Mm,
Would you guys ever
yeah.
consider doing Martech for political parties?
Surprisingly, we have been approached.
Oh,
Yes, yes, multiple times, multiple times.
okay.
Yeah, but our stand is not to touch anything political as well.
I
It's
see.
too sensitive, you know.
I
And
mean, your
nowadays, of
staff
course,
will
you
be
can
like,
track.
wow, this is what the company is doing, and they may
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
be.
It's also back to the culture and value, right? Like you want to remain neutral, or you really want to go with that flow. So, you know, in our own capacity, maybe some of us may be consultants, right?
Okay, okay.
But
Well,
that's in your own belief, right?
yeah,
But we, as a brand, there is a different set of unity in what we mutually agree on.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What my one more question for you, and a lot of our audience that we reach out to, that we're targeting these videos, are entrepreneurs and startup founders. So, as a country in Malaysia, last time it used to be okay, we would play in Malaysia and the customers are Malaysian, and your competitors are Malaysian. But now in the global age, especially in tech world, and I mean, obviously you will notice that a lot of your competitors are now no more Malaysian. They're actually foreigners, they're overseas, especially since tech is so virtual, it can move everywhere. And given that, competitors overseas often have bigger pockets, they come in and there are bigger players coming in. The smaller guys, especially in Malaysia, small startups like us, like mine, it gets squeezed out, right? Uh, how can SME companies in Malaysia, what should all these entrepreneurs do to really group together? I feel that they should be grouping together to help each
Yeah.
other out. But it's just that there's no framework, there's no one moving anything. I don't know. What do you think about that idea about
Mm.
people coming together, especially in Malaysia?
Yeah, I think you answered your question because my first answer to you is integration and partnership. And I think there is
Okay.
power in that unity. Although you do say there's no framework, sometimes, you know, in partnerships don't need a framework in that sense. I think it's really all up again to the leadership, the
Mm.
partners, the founders to come together. You don't need a whole conglomerate, 50 people with 50 people come together and have a discussion, right? You
Yeah,
just
yeah.
need you, your co-founder, two more person, you know, that's integral to the other party. Come to a conclusion, come to a decision, come to an objective and purpose and say, let's work together. And then, you know, with your leadership, you should be able to lead your whole crew into this new partnership. So integration and partnership, I still think
Mm.
is powerful, is
Mm.
one way to also stay competitive. I think secondly is the power of localization, because if you talk about international companies coming into Malaysia, I think one downside that they may have the tech, they may have the budget, but they will take longer to localize. So if
Mm.
you guys can in fact work with these companies to localize and be their local partners, or in
Mm.
fact just, you know, be a company that integrates with them very well,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
localize your content or localize your tech and understanding of messaging or marketing, I think that's great. All right. So I think all you can play by yourself, but in a more local uh, way. Right.
Mm.
And I think for smaller SMEs is to really then look outwards already, because again, global, right? You're talking about global, and it's easy to perhaps get ideas or even get some form of a licensing or some form of a merger, a local merger happening, with even global companies of that
Yeah,
caliber, and you'll be probably be able in a position to position yourself as a local branch or
yeah,
whatnot, right? And I think that's great. But then time and time again, it's all back to grit. It's all back to tenacity of the founders and the team. Although you do compete with the Goliath of
yeah,
sorts, is that David needs to be smart, right? I mean, he's a small guy. You need to be smart. You just need to choose your three best feet forward. You need to choose your best services and products, and perhaps focus on that for the next 2 to 3 years first. Make
mm.
a name for yourself in those areas, be so darn good at it, and then from there expand again, or you know, scale in other methods.
Yeah.
And again, patience is the key,
Mm.
right? Patience and grit is the key, and I think that will pay off very, very well. Yeah.
No, that's an amazing message. That's an amazing message. And no, thank you very much for that. Daryl, is
Yeah.
there a last final words you'd like to share with the audience? They're mostly techies, entrepreneurs, designers,
Mm.
creative people. Yeah, anything you want to share?
Um, I'll share from an entrepreneur standpoint
Sure.
is that because I think through the pandemic, we have naturally created a lot more business owners. And
Yes.
being a business owner, it has, I won't say it's actually tougher or easier. It's actually just a different experience. It comes with different challenges. Whether you're a staff or employee or employer, it comes with different challenges as well. What I want to say is that I go for by a few things that I try to play, play out a part of my life,
Mm.
is that you need to wake up, you need to take the leap, you need to show up, you need to be present, right? And you
Mm.
just need to kick ass and repeat. Do that, right, for the next 2 to 3 years, and I think it would reward you and you reap the fruits as well. And I think the other area is the whole area of where a lot of people don't talk about. I myself, I'm still learning. I'm on this journey of character building, and I think character is very important. Because one of my spiritual mentors always remind me that don't go where your talent can bring you, but your character cannot sustain you.
Mm.
Meaning to say, you and I, although we did talk a lot about talents and the lack of talent, but
Mm.
in our own way, we may not be good at coding. Some people might come coders, but they are not good at coding, then they can't get a job. But they may be super good at doing business, or they may be super good at, painting or cooking. So whatever skills you have, it will get you to places. It will get
Yes.
you up there. And when you reach up there, I pray and hope that you have the character that to sustain you. Because if you don't have a character of patience, of humility, of certain form of leadership, if you don't have the character of grit, if you don't have the character of forgiveness, or even just generally a good kind soul, right? Sometimes it hits you, and it can hit you bad, and you can fall, and you can fall hard. So the whole area of character building as an entrepreneur or as a business owner is very important as well. And the last thing I would say is that if you're in a business, no matter what business is to try your best to find one or two more partners to journey with you, because the going will get tough. And it's again, it's very cliche thing to say, but it's very lonely at the top. And you need people around you to encourage you, and at the same time you can then also return that favor, and you can encourage other people or your partners as well. And I think good friendships have been formed through my partnerships as well,
Mm.
and it has gotten us through a lot of dark times. And even most recently, I was telling one of our very good business partners, sister company, is that
Mm.
you really need to find another partner, because the partner left. So, but long story short is that um, this person right now is also realizing that, hey, actually, yeah, I cannot survive on myself. I actually
Mm.
need a partner to cover my tracks. Um, so that's one thing I'll leave with you guys as well. Yeah, a lot more to share, but those are my top three. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, definitely. And I think this kind of advice is, it just took 2 minutes of your time, but it probably saved someone like a whole year's worth of heartache. And because often they just need that right direction. If not, they just go
Mm,
down a road and it's just years of time wasted.
mm.
So I'm gonna pause the recording, but Daryl, say bye bye to our audience, and
All
thank you
right.
very much for tuning on.
No problem. Thank you, Ming, for having me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.